You went and saw Captain America: Civil War.
I did this week. I went to see it.
I know we're not perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
Yeah, apologies for the rain.
So it's England, it rains. So it's sort of loosely an adaptation of the Mark Millar comic book. Civil War, the big Marvel event in which the shit hits the fan massively and all the superheroes fight each other. The premise of the movie, without giving too much away, is that at the beginning of the film, the Avengers are on a mission in Nigeria. A tragedy occurs, there's enormous collateral damage and civilians die, and the UN decides that the Avengers are too dangerous to operate without control, and they put that to the Avengers, and half of them, principally led by Tony Stark, say, yes, you're right, we need to be kept in check because we're doing too much damage, and then half the Avengers, led by Captain America, saying, no, the last thing we need is checks and boundaries, we need to fight for what we believe in. If we're fighting for the UN, then we might not be able to fight for something that we believe in, or we might be forced to do something that we don't want to do, which ultimately leads to the big shitstorm and all the Avengers punching each other.
Oh, that sounds very exciting.
It is really exciting.
That's great to hear, because I mean, I know we had a fear, and I'm sure a lot of people have this similar fear of comic book fatigue.
Yeah. One of the things the movie does very well is that it manages to keep a lot of plates spinning at once. And one of the things about these Marvel films is that they're kind of growing and growing and growing. And I know that things like Ant-Man and presumably Doctor Strange, they are focusing again and bringing it down.
Well, Ant-Man specifically does.
Yeah, literally shrinks.
Yeah.
But on the whole, these Marvel movies are getting bigger and bigger, and Disney are spinning more and more and more plates. And it is still the case with Civil War. But they keep those plates spinning. And one of the amazing things about this movie, with one possible exception, is that you really don't feel like any of the characters get short shrift. This film does a really decent job of balancing all the characters, not pushing anyone to the margins, and just really getting the balance right. It's a pretty remarkable achievement. The middle part of the movie is so good that the sort of final 35 minutes of the movie, as good as it is, feels kind of overshadowed. There is a really, really strong hour in the middle of this film, and it's not giving away because it's in the trailer, in which you get a huge action set piece. Spider-Man comes into the movie, and Spider-Man is great in this. A chatterboxy, kind of starry-eyed, sort of very young superhero that you sort of expect. And like, Tom Holland is great, because one of the things I remember you saying, Andrew Garfield, as good an actor, and I really like Andrew Garfield, as good an actor as he is, he's got everything going for him, because, you know, he's talented, he's really good looking.
Good skateboarder.
He's a great skateboarder.
Good fashion sense.
As Peter Parker, you don't quite feel the same way about him, because he's already already a great specimen. With Tom Holland, and I'm by no means saying that Tom Holland is a sort of bad specimen, because obviously he's great, but he has this thing about him that he sort of kind of feels like an insecure nerd, and then when you see him thrown into the mix, and the way he reacts to it, the way his voice reacts onto the CGI character.
Is it a CGI character?
It appears to mostly be CGI, but it looks okay.
Okay.
Is really, really amusing. There's this really interesting, extra fresh dynamic. It's an action sequence in an airport.
The one, I guess that's the
it's
one
in the trailer. It's where you see the iconic bit of the two teams coming together to clash. That action scene is fantastic, and it's a really good utilization of all the characters with the little bits that they add to the fight. And it's a really nice way to exploit. So, you know, Spider-Man gets his chance to kind of to add a little bit and do his little quips. Yeah. And, you know, War Machine, again, it feels like, you know, someone like War Machine, like Don Cheadle, War Machine feels like a vital part of the, you know, this fight. And you know, and there's Scarlett Johansson as well, and that scene just, it's kind of like it's sort of like they all deliver their finishes if they were wrestlers. Yeah. And it's definitely one of the best. It's one of the best big action set pieces of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's really great fun. There is a mid-credit stinger, and that's it.
Okay, there we go. Don't stay to the end.
Don't stay to the end. The press screening I was at, everybody stayed to the end, and there was no post-credits stinger or coda.
Yeah.
And there was a huge boo. Everybody booed. To be honest, the mid-credit stinger is shit. So don't. If you need to beat traffic, don't worry.
All right, I've run out of patience.